Hey everyone, welcome to another painting process video. This time around I'll be showing the painting process for my recent fan art of Rebecca from Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This piece people seem to like, and people seem to like the character for sure, so I wanted to put this out there just because it's going to be a while before I go back to my main tutorial series, and there's no real point to keeping the video under wraps here. And I did want to talk about this topic. Now, given I am painting something cyberpunk related, it's appropriate for me to talk about something that I've seen a lot of people, for good reason, talk about on the internet, and that would be AI art, artificial intelligence art. One of the bigger headlines that kind of made the news was when someone in Colorado, I believe, won an art contest with AI art. And the piece was actually pretty well done for AI. This, of course, triggered a lot of people to be doomsaying about how artists are going to be obsolete over the years, and there are some merit to it. And I didn't want to just rush into the topic because I know the emotional reactions right off the bat is going to be very negative, and I wanted to take my time to really study AI art and just think about it from a more research standpoint. Now, I want to mention that I am saving a lot of my talking points for another tutorial video series, but I do want to go over some of the grander points that I wanted to make just for everyone here on YouTube. It is something that I get asked about in every convention now because it is such a big worry for artists. So, firstly, where do I see AI art going? I wanted to really talk about it from a positive standpoint first and foremost. It is very easy to be negative about it, but I want to just go over, okay, where can AI art be? And from all the things that I noticed, even prompting AI art myself for a while, for a few months even, there are some really good things that AI can replicate. For instance, if you are trying to literally have a piece of artwork of something, so let's say you want a blue whale or whatever you want to go with, AI art is actually really good at creating the literal definition of things. This means that my prediction is a lot of studios, especially the ones with a very low budget, might opt to use AI art in order to create their concepts for a game. This is especially something that I definitely see happening because already a lot of indie games that you see on Steam and Epic Store, they're going to be done without artists, as in the programmer and game designers are just going to skim on the art side and just go with a more technical approach of creating a game where they have the game mechanics but the art might not be there. It might be very simplified pixel type of thing that people can do. With AI art, these types of approaches might have an upgrade. Now, these types of indie developers will probably use AI art to create their concepts, which will raise the bar in how their games will look if they want to go without artists. Now, that's not to say AI art is perfect. With the right prompts, they can get very close, but I feel like studios are most likely going to hire artists anyways, just so that they can work on top of what they generate on AI. So one of the worries I would say is that these studios might be paying artists less because AI art has taken most of the pipeline with them. Now, I'm not here to doomsay and say that's going to exactly be what's happening, but based on what I've tested with AI art, I feel like it is able to get literal definitions, but it's unable to be truly humanly creative. And that's where the need for the artist's job will still be there. Unless, of course, studios are looking for just anything to get to the next step with their game design, in which case they probably weren't hiring artists anyway, so this sort of thing shouldn't really matter. The other point I want to make now is that traditional art may become much more valuable, which I would say it's already there. Traditional art tends to be more sellable because it is an original copy of something. So there may be a demand for that, especially if you sell to people who just want to hang artwork on the walls rather than doing stuff like concept art for studios and all that. I would still say digital art reigns supreme for the logistical reasons. You don't have to ship your traditional artwork to studios all across the world. You can just have the work itself and just send it over digitally. Now, that's not to say traditional artists can't do that already with photography and all that, but either way, I'm while I am thinking that traditional art might be more demanded at places like conventions, I don't think it's going to completely turn digital art obsolete. Now then, going into the doomsaying part of things, people see that in the past few months or this past year-ish, AI art has progressed significantly, and artists are worried that if it keeps going up at the same pace, that eventually they'll just outright replace all artists. Personally, I don't see it. Now, you could come back to this video if I am totally wrong, and I'm perfectly fine with admitting that. But the way I see it is that there are diminishing returns when it comes to this sort of technology. As I said before, there are a lot of things that AI is just unable to create. Mostly the emotion and the message that humans are capable of creating through their creativity. AI is very good at learning things literally, but they don't have the ability to be truly creative. Anything that you prompt is most likely going to be a replica or copied from what is existing. So what I did notice is that prompts without any artist input, so anything such as drawn by this artist or inspired by this artist, tends to be a bit broad. What I mean by that is if I wanted a picture of a mythical forest, if I just put that in the prompt, then there are so many samples online that it will most likely create a mumbo jumbo of stuff that isn't really presentable. However, if you start to put stuff like inspired by Studio Ghibli, that's when it starts getting a bit scary. But in that regard, because it is taken from existing studios and existing artists, there is still a reliance on existing artists in order to create these sort of styles, innovating and to have these specific looks that you want. Now, I personally cannot see AI art being able to create their own unique style that will trump everything that you see from human artists. But again, I could be wrong. This technology is progressing pretty fast. I do think there are diminishing returns and there will be a human aspect that AI will be unable to replicate, regardless of how much time there is. Now, there are more points that I want to make, but I'm going to keep this video within the 10-minute mark. So, to conclude, I'm not in the camp that AI art is just going to kill off all artists yet. However, I will say that a big part of it will be the community that determines what the fate of AI art is. So some scenarios would be artists who use AI to do their work might be blackballed from the industry based on community. Now, of course, it could go the opposite end where studios who are looking to cheapen out because ultimately it's capitalism, they might just accept AI art as is and try to cheapen the industry work. So my point being is that technology will go wherever it goes. I personally see there's a ceiling, but how the community at large sees AI art will be a bigger issue. So will all art contests have to start banning AI art? Will there be negative stigmas when it comes to using AI art? That sort of thing is yet to be determined. So it is something that I will be keeping a very close eye on when it comes to the technology. I know it is really bad for some artists who are constantly used as prompts when it comes to AI art. But even then, when I try to prompt those types of artists, the AI art gets it close, but there's always going to be mistakes. So at worst, I feel like the industry will head to a direction where perhaps a studio might use AI art, but use artists in order to have them fix the AI art for use. That might cheapen the industry, but at the same time, there's still a demand for human art and artists. So who knows? We'll see what happens. Anyways, I'll let this video keep moving on. Hopefully you enjoyed the long rant here as well as the process video here. Hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time.